Good morning, everyone. This is Luda Kopkina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News Review. We have a full crew, heavy hitters today. We have John, Paul, and Adam, and Tim. So we'll have a tremendous discussion because we have 7 articles to discuss with news from Mistral, an HBR article about LLMs in general and how to use them. A couple of announcements and very, very interesting use case from Langchain and the like. So looking forward to it. Let's start with the first article. The first article is about Mistral. Hold on. I arranged it all to see whether it's... Okay, do you see it now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, Mistral is introducing a whole bunch of capabilities to rival ChatGPT and offering it free. So what do you think about this, Adam?
This is exciting news. If people aren't familiar with Mistral, it's certainly time they start paying attention. Mistral, I believe, is out of France, and they are a very heavy play into the enterprise space within the EU. They're very big on local and owning your own intelligence and privacy, and really like what they're doing. So it's great that they're catching up and that they now have many of the capabilities you find in ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. There's a nice table there, yeah. But a lot of things they've just added that have brought them sort of up to this level is the web search, the canvas for ideation, multimodal for understanding images, using Black Forest Labs from technology for image generation with their Flux model. So they're offering a lot, and the fact that it's free, if people are keen to be using something like ChatGPT and are looking for a free alternative, I would say LeChat is definitely on the table. The fact that it is them just catching up and that this isn't or probably has limited use in itself in an application for enterprise, I was on the fence between optional and important news.
Okay,
all right.
John, Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go optional here. You know, Adam, at our pregame show here, Adam shot one across the bow, said we get Harvard grading yesterday. As a guy who got 3 degrees from Harvard, I got to take that on. So definitely going optional. It's a Me Too thing. And I just want to tell you, Adam, that may be true at the college, but at the business school, they grade on a curve. So there is no grade inflation. Okay. You can only have so many.
It was me who said that, by the way, John.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Adam.
That's okay. I want Adam to take the flaming arrows for me.
Okay.
Tim.
I would actually, I was sort of on the boundary of optional important because of the price. And although I can go with optional because, yes, you're right. This is a catch up at one level, but most people still aren't even aware of this stuff. So it's a good read for most people to just be reminded, this is the state of the art now. And the other big issue that we've been talking about forever, which is that open source has dramatically closed the gap with the closed source systems. And so people, but I can say, yeah, optional is okay because it is a catch up thing that they're doing here. And if you're in the EU, probably more important, as Adam was noting. But for the AI leader, they're so tied to AWS and Microsoft, which leads them to Anthropic and Claude. It's probably going to be hard unless they're doing they really want to do an open source model. So.
Okay, so we have a couple of optionals and important. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, so let me lean into important, see if I can get the crew there. I think a couple different. One, it's just yet again another stunning indication of how commoditized 3.5 type of capability is. Second is, it's still not super easy for John Q. Public or the AI leader to find an open source model to compare. Now, Samba Nova Systems and their site does it, but it's often hard. People don't seem to go there a lot. So I would argue this is a way to at least test open source side by side with closed source for one. And third, I think it's another indication of the amount of the speed of innovation out there. So at least for those reasons, on trend validation, I would argue important.
Yeah, I would argue important as well, because ChatGPT is expensive if you're using it internally, and it's a sizable amount of money. It certainly is worth trying this for internal use and seeing how good it is for free. So I feel that the leaders should know that, and that's would be my reasoning for important.
Yeah.
Important it is.
Yeah, I'd add one more thing too, especially for the AI leaders, because most AI leaders at the end of the day um, don't do a lot of direct programming. Some do, but most of them don't. And I just see this. What this reminded me one more time: the Canvas here, the what is it, projects or something. They all have this thing that's a live environment for generating actual web pages, Excel spreadsheets, basically doing complex programming that was never available to them before. And I think AI leaders need to take this seriously and get their general management trained and say, you need to start fooling around with this because you don't need IT support for a lot of the complex tasks you want to do. You will need it for some, and that's fine, but you can get a lot done now all of a sudden on your own instead of waiting or for some Tableau expert to come and help you out, or what is it, BI expert to come and help you out.
Tim, I couldn't. We talked for years about data citizens in the enterprise. Now we have citizen coders out there with these superpowers. I think the other thing, Tim, I think about. I mean, I've been a vendor for 25 years. Your roadmap is really hard because so much is on it. And I continue to see a bit bifurcation on what the B2C roadmap is for these large language models versus B2B here. So this is Mistral getting into the kind of B2C consumer aspect of these interfaces, and that takes away from integration. And
if you really look at radically changing technologies, it really radically changes things. I don't know what you think, John. I think they always end up with a B2C bias because basically that translates into enterprise very powerfully most of the time. So it starts, if you have a good B2C interface, you're going to have a good enterprise play most of the time. If you look at the spreadsheet, it started as a B2C thing, really.
Yeah.
SAP and Salesforce being the exceptions.
Paul, I just want to put one clarifying point. You're talking about this being an open source model. This is not open source. This is their special sauce. This is their ChatGPT equivalent, right? So this is their consumer model.
Right.
The capabilities that are available here aren't available in the open source models that they currently
offer. Good point. But it is free, so that's why
it's free to use. But if people are looking at enterprise for an open source alternative, Mistral is not it yet.
Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
But I will succumb to the mob here, but I just want to point out that Vivek does note it's not as strong in voice, which is going to be a big deal.
That's a good point. Still one feature behind. Yeah.
But it probably has limitations, but you can't beat free. So I think people will use it. All right.
Luda, before we go, just to Tim's point, the guy with 3 degrees from Harvard succumb to the mob. I want to note that.
I think there's going to be more of that, by the way.
The mob is quite powerful, John. Okay, so the next one is an HBR article done by 3 professors or people in Toronto University that talks about generative AI being a predictive machine, but essentially stressing the point that you need humans to figure out where to use it and how to build it. What do you think about it, John?
I would say this is super optional. I think it's a combination of misdirection, obfuscation, and sloppy thinking. First of all, the way they talk about is still just a prediction machine. There's a paragraph in here that begins with the title, "Computers do arithmetic." No, they don't. They do arithmetic, they do linear algebra, they do calculus, they do a lot more. And that is the essence of the mathematics underneath these things. So to say they just do arithmetic is just wrong.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yep. It's like saying proteins are just amino acids.
It's just a silly, that's what I mean about, incorrect and misdirection. Second thing is that, the distinctions here, I think, are very simple and important. And it's you have probabilistic outcomes from a deterministic machine that happens to generate probabilistic outcomes. I call that a probabilistic machine, right? And then you've got deterministic outcomes out of a deterministic set of algorithms. All right. And, our friend David Reed would argue whether the first one is probabilistic or not. I think he's wrong. I think it is a probabilistic machine. It's a non-deterministic set of algorithms. And so when you manage that, there are plenty of things in business that are non-deterministic that help you with, with outcomes. You look at risk management. If I'm trading milk at Kraft, I'm dealing with, option pricing that is a probabilistic outcome that has a more than arithmetic pricing mechanism in the context of that Black-Scholes model that gives me the risk I have of milk as an input in making, mac and cheese. It's just, anyway, it just aggravates me. This is, please do not read this.
Yeah.
I knew it will get this type of reaction from John. So, okay, great.
My reaction was even like, this is like, is the sky blue? It was so obvious. It's like, well, these are deterministic machines. Data is important. You have to use some judgment on where to use them.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Tim, this is like saying the sky is blue because it reflects the light from the blue ocean. That's what this is.
Yeah.
It's really, I was surprised
Okay.
HBR actually published it. We don't have super optional, we have optional. Optional it is.
One last pile on, Luda. Gen AI is still a prediction machine. The startup went to $3.5 billion after 18 months.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Optional it is. I don't read this, huh? Okay. All right. The next one is coming from Singapore. It talks about the GUI agent, and they're talking about Claude 3.5 computer use when Claude actually integrates with the applications on your computer, and they're calling it a graphical use interface coming up. So what do you think about it, Tim?
I thought this was interesting. It's optional, I think, for the general AI leader. I could almost be argued into important because important means you don't have to read it, but I think it's probably too far off the beaten track. I was interested, and it's very cool what they did here, which is to look at the computer use model, which is the way that it's basically the AI agents now are taking over screen scraping. So just imagine a screen scraper on incredible steroids, as we used to call them. So it can do anything on your computer that you can do. Old Visual Basic macros can do this kind of stuff in limited ways, which is extremely useful because now the computer doesn't need, the robot rather, doesn't need an API. It doesn't, and which often doesn't have. You can't get at core services of most machines through an API. So it just does it like you do it. Clicks on the mouse and watches a screen and makes decisions. And so they created sort of a more formal testing environment. They also extended it so that I didn't understand that. Adam, you're probably more of an expert than I have. I haven't tried these things yet, but it said they don't work. They only work on Ubuntu or something and a Linux machine. So they made some versions that worked on Mac OS and Windows and tested them there and then created a test suite. So it's interesting. And just again, mostly remarkable what these robots can already do after a couple of years to automate workflows and help you get your computer to be more useful to you.
Okay, Paul, Adam, John, what do you think?
Oh, it looked like John was looking for the unmute. I'll jump in. So, Luda, this is exactly what we were talking about last night that we needed. That we don't have.
Yes.
And I was saying that it'll just be a matter of time till we start seeing people putting wrappers around Claude's computer use and giving us some of that capability we need. And what's extraordinary here, although it's buried, there's the article, then there's the PDF we're looking at now, and then you see the link in red there to the computer use OOTB. That's an out-of-the-box framework where they give you easy implementations for every one of the tasks they executed in every use case. which is going to offer up tremendous capabilities to developers to start doing all of the things you see on that diagram there, from web search to productivity to entertainment to workflow. So this could end up being quite massive. At this point, though, it's definitely still something for the developers. And so I would agree with Tim. It's probably optional news.
Yeah, but so I was leaning, I agree, optional important, but I was leaning towards important because the introduction of this out of the box capability that essentially does the integration. What Adam and I were talking about, the production of the newsletter, right? We use the bot to generate the content, right? But there's lots of clicks to put it together through different applications.
Lots of manual tasks to take it and paste it over into the
put
email.
This link into here, do this.
And we were saying sometimes it's 5 or 7, so we can't just script it like Tim's saying with Visual Basic or something. You need something that can accommodate the diversity of the scenarios, right?
So this is interesting, and that's why I was leaning into important. Okay, so John and Paul is gone. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd give it an important. I could even see it essential. I mean, this seems like such a right now usable thing that, as you know, even as we do our own work and try to employ robots, I mean, this is the kind of stuff we would use right away, right? In terms of automating certain kinds of tasks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Certainly important for me.
Important it is. Okay, let's go next. What do we have next? We have the Dun & Bradstreet case on using Langchain and Langsmith to deliver insights. So it's a very good use case. It's assigned to me, so it's a very good use case. Unfortunately, very complex issues across applications, structured and unstructured data. They built the graph to represent the data with Langchain, and they're using Langsmith to essentially see every step of the way. It can tell you what it did and how it did it and what reasoning it did. So it's an important use case. The unfortunate thing, there is no data. They are using it, but there's no, they say the impact is profound, that I believe it is, but there's no information on that. So that's why I was between optional and important, because it's an important use case, but ended up with optional. What do you think, guys?
I had this as optional as well. You know, I'm chuckling a little bit because Adam mentioned our learning lab last night, which everybody should watch. It was terrific. And one of the things that came out, our good friend Alden Rosario, who has a lot of experience with these models and doing this kind of programming, said basically anybody, I will paraphrase, anybody who's a serious programmer doesn't use Langchain. So it's interesting. This is the whole thing on Langchain, and a very big company using Langchain, which is an orchestration environment to, you know, do the kinds of things that they articulate here. But yeah, I think it's a, you know, I'm always the back pocket guy. This is another good back pocket article, but I would call it optional.
Okay, John, Adam.
Optional.
Yeah, also sort of optional.
Optional it is then. Okay, moving on. This is an article from Perplexity talking about shop like a pro, as Perplexity is moving to introduce its shopping assistant. What do you think about this, Adam?
I'm in a wait and see mode right now. It's only available in the US. It's got some really slick videos, but you can't even try it. So I had limited ability to even fully assess how great it is or how smoothly it works. The idea is, as you know, as it shows in the little video there, you know, it'll do more than research, which is what Perplexity is known for, and go those next steps in terms of helping you get all the way basically to the checkout, right? Potentially even checking out for you, and it'll be amazing. It's sort of taking search to the next level in terms of almost then having an agent that's your shopping assistant, right? I could see it as important, but I'm also not totally convinced how how well it's going to pan out. They definitely have a history of executing really well on these things. So I'm not really sure where to land, honestly.
And they introduced this interesting capability that I wanted yesterday. I was looking for a particular thing, and I didn't know what to call it. and I wanted to snap a picture and say to somebody, hey, look for this, please. And they introduced the capability now, snap to shop. So you take a picture, you put it in there, and they give you the products that are that, right? I love that one. So what do we think about this, guys?
I think this is important, and here's why. I have a hobby horse, if you will, that I've been on many times, that advertising is a terrible model. It's even worse today. And it's just worked because it's been better than anything else. And the people who purvey the advertising are very good at keeping it profitable. It's extremely profitable. On the other hand, it's terrible for the consumer. And these things are always houses of cards once something better comes along. So if Perplexity avoids going down the current advertising route, it says, okay, what we're going to do is just help people out who are actually interested in purchasing stuff. And we'll make money directly through their subscriptions and through commissions on sales products or something like that. They could completely undermine the advertising model, just completely. And it would be wonderful in many ways for consumers who are tired of being bombarded with ads on, every time they go anywhere about anything, and especially ads that are related to something they just did. It's amazing how good they are. I went and looked at, some present somewhere for somebody, and I immediately get 500,000 ads about presents just like that, even though I already bought the present and it was for some person I only buy a present for once a year.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it's important. It's a short article, and I think it's important to keep an eye on these new business models in particular. I agree with that, and we'll see how it pans out, but I think it's important to pay attention to.
I forgot what tips it over the scale for me to important, which it isn't just shop like a pro. If you scroll down on that page, there's a second announcement, right? Which is this, what do they call it? The Perplexity Merchant Program.
Oh, right.
Which I think is an important part of that, and especially for larger businesses to be aware of this and to potentially start getting involved with it is probably important news. So if you scroll down there you go, right? So you have an increased chance of being a recommended product. You get payment integration, free API access, and a custom dashboard. So this is on the business side of that, to help make sure that they're getting quality content out of the recommendations they're making. And this is probably the more significant part of it from a commercial perspective.
And it's certainly rivaling Amazon and the other platforms. So building the...
I think Amazon would buy it and would love it. Amazon would love nothing better than to cut their advertising budget by 90%.
Yeah, I know. So this is cool. Okay, important it is. Let's proceed. The next one is coming from 11 Labs and offering conversational AI agents. So this is Tim. What do you think about this one, Tim?
Well, this is very interesting. I would give it this is one of those cases where if you are in the market for chatbots, building chatbots that are conversational, as a developer, I would say this is essential. This is a big deal because it's rivaling what Amazon does and allows you to do it across models. So if you're a developer, this has got some advantage. But I think in general for the AI leader, this is optional. It's just another indication of how rapidly things are going. That this, I think Adam has talked about this many times, and it's impressive if you've ever used the voice interface with ChatGPT, how conversational it truly is. And Adam actually did a presentation on this at one of the Learning Labs. So you can look that up on our Learning Lab YouTube. And so they've just now caught up, right? This is the leading company, I think, so far, as much as there are leaders in such a nascent industry in building these voice systems. And they're now offering something comparable to what OpenAI has but again, with a more neutral platform so you can use it across multiple models.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think about this, Adam? You're probably most familiar with this technically.
It's pretty good. I went and stood one up today. I actually created a conversational agent. It was fairly straightforward. You get a link. You can try it right there in your browser. You can share it with other people. You can also embed it into a web page. So it's going to make it a lot easier to have that voice interface effectively to a chatbot. And it's a really interesting play for 11 Labs because they've grown up out of the voice simulation area where you could train an AI on your voice, but you would always have to put in the text that you wanted to say. Then it would record the audio and you could download it or use it in other things. So for them to now, from that capability, enter into this voice agent arena is a very interesting play for them, but probably still at this point, optional, as Tim said, unless you're looking specifically at evaluating conversational voice agents. But it was pretty good. The latency was quite low. You can speak and interrupt while you're having the conversation. So it's they've done a good job with it.
But why not important? This can affect. So it is essentially a signal of maturation of this area, right? Why not rate it important?
Because
Mostly for developers.
Yeah, if you're going to build an agent with this, you basically have to put all of your knowledge capital into their tool right now, it seems.
Okay.
It's not
That's
really
another issue.
structured for enterprise integration.
I'm okay with important. So up to you, Luda. Use the power of the chair.
John's such a proponent of voice as the new UI anyway. So
Voice is important.
Voice is a new UI for sure. And this previously we had capabilities that were kind of not quite ready yet. It appears that this particular company has grown out of the voice area and doing a really good job. So we should probably highlight that.
Let's do it.
Okay, important it is.
Paul gave me his proxy. He votes important.
That was important. Okay, sounds good. Okay, the last one. Let's see. I need to find my screen.
Fireworks at F1.
All right. Yes, F1, fireworks F1. The complex reasoning with compound AI. I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, I'll let John or Paul go. John.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I was going to rate this optional. I think it's it's a part of an important trend where we see the integration of a series of small models starting to approach all but the best model in the market, with the Omni preview here. So this general trend, I think we're just going to see more and more of, right? Creation of integration layer, middleware, as we quantize these models and make them more efficient, as we put them together, this notion of a compound model, hybrid model, as we talked about before, this is an idea that's been around for a long time. I think it's the right idea in terms of getting next level of improvement. The earliest stuff I read on this was Marvin Minsky's book called The Society of Mind, which basically laid out, the idea of a mind being a set of specialized cooperating processors. Anyway, optional, very interesting, important trend.
yeah, I agree. Their capabilities are better than others, like you see here, right? But they're not up to O1, really. So it is trend. It's getting there. They're very excited about what they have achieved, rightly so. But there are other folks that are doing it better. So ChatGPT is still in the lead on that. So
yeah, I agree. It is open source, which is another interesting point here. But yeah, I'd call this optional.
Okay, everybody, Adam agreeing with optional?
So Tim, this is full open source in terms of data, weights, code, the whole.
Oh, I don't know. No, I didn't read the details. So they declared it open source. So it's probably the usual open closed source like Jumbo Shrimp, right?
Yeah, I bet it is. Adam, do you know? No. Okay. So
no, I'm not sure. I was trying to see if they say, but they don't.
Yeah, I don't think they say in the article. It's just we need to go figure out on their website. But it is just not quite up to par. So optional it is. All right, let's see whether we can have the scorecard here. We have 4 importance and 3 optional for today. So not bad, actually. Interesting things happening, a lot of use cases and new tools, but putting the capabilities to be actually used out there by enterprises. So
I think there's a mistake there, because wasn't generative AI as a predictive machine the one we all thought was like, please stay away from this and never read it?
yes, so that's optional. Yes, it's my
We don't want to offend John, especially. Yeah, that one.
Yes,
Okay.
of all of them, don't make that mistake.
No, I wouldn't. It's very interesting because I changed it in my slide. I'm sorry. This is we need Ankash. We really do. So apologies for that. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I will make sure that in the newsletter it's correct. Thank you, and thank you, participants. Vivek, Lucinda, Ashish, Ram, thanks for joining and thanks for commenting. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.